Welcome, 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 Kingdom Influencers. Welcome back. This is day number 15. We are so very excited. We are in our last 7 days of our 21-day Kingdom Influence Challenge. If you're just joining us, please go to our website at www.mykingdominfluence.com and you can see further about what we've been doing over the past 2 weeks. It's never too late to join in, so please join us in our task today. We'd love to have you participate in our 21-day challenge. Our theme for today is the law of attraction. How many of you know that you can attract things to yourself? The Bible even declares it. Proverbs 23:7 says, as a man thinketh in his heart, so is he. So in other words, if I think it in my heart, I literally become that. So that means I'm drawing that thing to me. So whatever God has told you in your life, believe him. Believe him. He can do it. Tell you about an example. I was a teacher for many years and I got laid off. And when I got laid off, my boss let me go to a teacher recruitment fair. And I walked around the teacher recruitment fair talking to everyone about jobs, about teaching. And then finally, I walked up to the last person at that fair that day. And when I walked up to him, he introduced himself to me and I shook his hand and I said, "Hi, my name is Bridget and I'm looking for an administrative job." Why I said that? Again, I was trying to attract it. Obviously, it was something that had been in my heart. God knew it years before. I had a previous mentor that was grooming me for it. I moved and relocated, so stopped that process. But I always had the mind to be an administrator and to be a leader. And do you know, literally 3 months later, I was an administrator for that same gentleman, which launched me on my full career over 16 years in administration. God will allow you to attract what you want to attract. And so our task today is to go back to day number 12. You had habits that we talked about. We said write down 4 habits. It was a 3-to-1 ratio, 3 positive to 1 negative. And so you would write the 3 positives down and you were to celebrate. And then the 1 negative, I told you we'd come back to it. And so that's where we're at today. And so what I want you to do, whatever that habit that you say you're doing, I want you to replace it. So we're not going to just say we're not going to do it anymore. We're going to replace it with a better habit. So for instance, one of my things is sometimes I forget to follow through. And so what I've done to replace that bad habit is I make sure that I follow through. So I write it on my calendar. I put it in my personal phone. I make it go off on a timer, or I put it on my calendar and make it go off on my alarm. That way I follow back up. And then at the end of that week, checking to make sure that I followed up through and kept my word. If I don't keep my word, then make sure that I apologize to whoever that person or that group of people is, and then work on that for the next time. But again, replacing that habit with a better habit. Law of attraction. It's really true. It really, really works. For example, have you ever noticed that you buy a car and everywhere you start seeing that car? Well, that car was there the whole time. The reason why you're aware of it because your conscious mind is now more aware because you own that car or you own that color. And now you see it everywhere. Why do you see it everywhere? Because again, your conscious mind has been opened. So open your conscious mind. Again, whatsoever a man think of in his heart, so is he. And so if you want it, then you claim it, you decree it, you declare it, and it's going to come into fruition. One more personal experience to share with you. I was a divorcee. And I was at church one day, 5:00 a.m. prayer, crying out to God, praying and crying because I was devastated. I did not want to be divorced. And this was right before my divorce was finalized. I was crying out to God, and God literally in an audible voice said to me, "Bridget, I am going to give you a husband that's going to love you like I love the church." It wowed me because I had never had an audible experience with God before. But more than that, I closed my eyes and he allowed me to see a vision of myself on the beach in a long white wedding gown, getting married to a man in a black tuxedo. I could not see the man's face, but I could see myself and I could see my radiant smile. Literally years later, that came to pass. Why? I saw it. God gave it to me, first of all. I journaled it and it came back. because eventually after I went through my little bitter spell, yes, ladies, I went through a bitter spell. So don't let the bitterness get you. We're going to talk about that in 2 days. Don't let the bitterness get you. And literally through a mutual friend, my husband and I were drawn together. I was still skeptical and leery because I was hurt and I was afraid. And one of my first conversations I had with my husband was, I'm not girlfriend material. So if you just looking around playing, I'm not playing. I'm wife material. And he shut my mouth. He said to me clearly, I honor marriage. I value marriage. I come from a lineage of marriage. His grandparents had been married at the time almost 65 years. His parents had been married over 40 years. Only reason why his parents weren't still married because his father had passed away. So death departed them. So I'm saying all to say is you draw where you're at. You attract where you're at. You attract those things in your life. How? By speaking them and declaring them. I'm going to read a scripture to you that's very, very important. And I want this to be the last thing you hear and for you to resonate. Write it down. Journal it with your habit, with your activity, because here's the key principal thing to the law of attraction. I will bless the Lord who counsels me. He gives me wisdom in the night. He tells me what to do. I am always thinking of the Lord. And because he is so near, I never, do you hear me? Never stumble and fall. That's Proverbs 16 verses 7 through 8. Write it down, journal it. Until the next day, think about the law of attraction. You have a blessed day.